Well, this is chapter 4 of Converging Media. It's about audio media. And of course, it starts talking about the recording industry and the distinctive functions of the recording industry. Let's talk about again about entertainment and about cultural transmissions. It does leave out money and profit, which is really a function of most of these. There have been critics of the audio industry of late saying that it sends impressionable viewers unacceptable messages. In music videos, there's a depiction of women that is objectionable to many women's rights or feminists, and certainly there are reasons for that to be, so some of them to be objected to. Going to page page 99, if you're following along, history of recorded music starts with the phonograph and then the gramophone, and then the graphophone, then the gramophone. I'm not going to get a whole lot into this. It went on to LPs, singles, 8 tracks, later cassettes, and then compact discs. And of course, as we know, digital media is replacing all of that. Now, many people buy their CD or whatever it is they want in digital format. They may buy it from iTunes or wherever else it may be, subscribe to it. They subscribe to services so they can just listen to a lot of music free. And of course, there's a lot of passing music around online as well, so that people can pick it up free. It talks about Tin Pan Alley and the original early writing in the area of Manhattan, writing of songs. As Hollywood developed and motion pictures with sound emerged, the recording industry emerged in Los Angeles as well. Rock and roll was a blend of several musical forms: blues, gospel, rhythm and blues, rockabilly, and came rock and roll. Of course, rock and roll was around well before Elvis Presley made it popular in the dominant American culture by playing it and getting it on the air. And so then as it went through the 60s, there was Motown, soul, girl group, surf rock, folk rock. The British invasion brought in, well, it says brought in new sounds to American music, but the reality is that the Beatles, as you may or may not know this, but the Beatles were huge fans of a group called the Crickets, Buddy Holly and the Crickets. And if you listen to the early Beatles and listen to the Buddy Holly and the Crickets, the sound is very, very similar. So later on, the Beatles did bring in some new sounds and do some new things as well. But their original appearance was not entirely original. Disco came along, of course, replaced a lot of the rock and roll, although rock and roll has rebounded and has more of a modern and current rock and roll. They've, through the converging of various companies uniting, the recording industry is down to just a few major labels now that put out almost all the music you hear. I talked about promotion. There was a time where people were paid to put music on the air, but see, now it's different because the people who produce the music, the people who own the radio stations, and people who own the TV stations, and all of these other things are the same people. So if I own the radio station and I've also produced the music, I can tell the radio station, play this music, make it popular, and that will happen. So exposure is a lot of what makes people want to buy something. Talks about the pricing structure. The prices on a lot of things have fallen over the course of time. Initially, when something would be introduced, like CDs in the 80s, they were $19. I've bought a number of CDs in the last 5 to 10 years online, and I usually don't pay more than about $5, sometimes less. There's been a decline, of course, in sales in the hard format, but there's been revenue growth from the streaming services, and that's growing. There are new business models emerging. Like I said, the subscription, so just the freemium model where you can listen to music free, but you have to listen to ads as well. Talks about broadcasting of music. Music goes out on the radio. Radio has certain distinctive functions as well, disseminating important information. The talk radio, news programming, recording music, playing recorded music. Especially with playing recorded music, radio that's probably its most unique function, because there are not a lot of television channels where all they do is play recorded music. They may play videos, but even some of those have gone to other things as well now. It goes back to the history of radio, back from wireless telegraphy. I'm not going to test you on some of these names and dates because, again, I'm not going to test you on things you can look up on your smartphone. It just doesn't make any sense. Talks about radio before and after the Civil War. It had grown a certain amount, but when it ended World War I, a lot of radio stations were shut down, taken over, and just stopped. The broadcasting of a heavyweight boxing title fight, by the way, one of the things that really started to cause radio receivers to be, or radios to be sold more and listened to more. And through the first half of the 20th century, AM radio listenership far exceeded FM. Late 70s, this shifted, and now AM is virtually not listened to. FM is the dominant by a huge margin. Talking about going forward, the rise of radio networks now. Of course, the networks now, there were at one point in time hundreds of independent radio stations. Now there are very few. There are networks that own maybe 500 stations. You see, if I have to pay a disc jockey to be behind the thing and play music and all these other people at every station, that's a high cost. But if I have one or a show that everybody likes, like Rick and Bubba or possibly some of the other talk show people, or even people who do play things in the morning, I think what's the name? Delilah, I think in the evening with some romantic music, things like that. If I can put that on 500 stations, then my costs have dropped. Of course, as we know, talks about radio stations today. There are dozens of different formats out there. Larger cities have formats that we would not have in smaller cities. Outlook for the radio industry, podcasting and satellite radio are affecting that. Theirs are growing a little bit. They kind of grew initially, and they a little bit sort of plateaued a little bit. They could grow more. I think that they really need to settle on a price structure where people are willing to pay. I subscribe to Sirius XM. I will not pay $15 a month for it. I'll pay $5. But you have to buy, I think it's a year's thing to get, or something along that line. There's specials to get those lower prices. There's about podcasting, very popular now. You can actually, any student listening to my voice right now, you can start your own podcast if you want to. Of course, satellite radio already. That is chapter 4, and we will get that up, and we'll get chapter 5 done as well soon.